Abuse, a News 10 special with hosts Bob Grip and Nancy Pierce.
Drug and alcohol abuse affects thousands across the Gulf Coast, including many children.
And abusing alcohol and drugs not only affects the abuser, it also hurts the family and friends.
Hi everyone, I'm Bob Grip.
And I'm Nancy Pierce. For the next 30 minutes, we'll examine this cancer in our society.
We'll show you how the problem of drug and alcohol abuse cuts so deeply. It affects children as young as 9 or 10.
And we'll talk to those of you on the front lines of this battle.
We'll show you what's being done to help your children and what you can do to help solve the problem.
So stay with us as we show you a lethal problem that affects every one of you.
Coming up, drugs and kids.
Well, I started out when I was about 12, and I started out on pot.
It's the summer of '69, Woodstock, New York. Thousands of young people gather for a concert. Long hair is in, so are sex, drugs, rock and roll. A rebellious time, a time to strike a chord for independence. It's now almost 20 years later. A lot of the long hair is gone, but kids are still rebellious. They probably always will be to some extent. Rock and roll still reigns supreme. But what about drugs and alcohol? They're still around, and these statistics might surprise and scare you. 7 out of 10 high school seniors drink beer and wine. Almost half of the seniors get drunk once a week. The average beginning age of alcohol use is around 9 or 10. 1 out of 4 high school seniors smoke pot, and pot smoking often begins at age 11. Rob began smoking marijuana and drinking when he was 12.
There was an image behind it. The cool people, the older people did it. And I was at a party, it was there. I wanted to be like the guys on MTV with the long hair making a lot of money with a lot of women.
Nikki was 12 when she smoked her first joint.
And then I kept on smoking pot, and it progressed, every weekend. And then I started drinking with the pot, and then it exceeded up to smoking pot every day, before school sometimes, but every day after school for sure, and drinking and smoking pot on the weekends.
Just 2 of the thousands of kids who got into drugs since Woodstock and have had to fight their way out of hell.
Nancy, it seems alcohol and drug abuse really hit our young people. Why is it so prevalent among youngsters?
Well, Bob, the problem of drug and alcohol abuse among our young people is not only psychological and social, like peer pressure. It's also physical.
I've had people tell me, you're too young to be an alcoholic or an addict, and which that's not true. I don't think age, it doesn't matter at all.
15-year-old Nikki tried it mostly out of curiosity and peer pressure. For 3 years, her world was full of drug users and alcoholics.
I got to the point where I isolated myself with one little group, I didn't hang out with anybody except for this little group that I, went to school with and everything, and I was real judgmental of other people and stuff if they weren't like me.
Nikki met Paul at a recovery center. He started taking sips from his parents' beer when he was 5. He was introduced to marijuana by a 13-year-old dealer. He also tried it out of curiosity. Then he liked it.
It just made me forget about everything for a little while. I could be anything or anybody I wanted to be, and just not worry about the pain or anything or my problems until I came down.
18-year-old Rob is now into physical fitness. Just a few months ago, though, he was using all sorts of drugs. But he had a favorite.
I bought LSD for the first time on a cold December morning and fell instantly in love with LSD.
If we don't stop it, drugs will ruin us.
Those strong words come from a man who sees the effects of drug and alcohol abuse every day. John Butler is a judge for the Mobile County Juvenile Court. He says 75 to 80% of his cases are drug-related, kids committing crimes under the influence or to get money to support their habits. He says, though, he's seen the biggest increase in child abuse cases, but they, too, are usually tied into drug abuse.
Because we have parents, young parents, who are on drugs who aren't providing the care, maintenance, and supervision they should be giving to a child, and also abusing a child out of their frustrations.
Butler says there is so much drug traffic coming through Mobile, it's difficult to corner it. Part of the problem is the long coastline. The amount of drugs coming in tends to make the drugs not only accessible, but also cheap. Another problem is the potency.
The marijuana on the streets of Mobile today is 10 times stronger than it was 10 years ago. One marijuana cigarette today is the equivalent of a 6-pack of beer. It's too dangerous to play with.
Butler has seen about every kind of juvenile problem, but he still treats each case individually.
Every case is different in juvenile court. We try to determine what happened, first of all, why it happened, and now what we can do about it. I also, though, take the approach that a juvenile is responsible for what he does. And just because he was under the influence of drugs or alcohol does not excuse that conduct.
Is there anything that can be done to help this problem? Or is this community headed for even more trouble? Well, Judge Butler believes that parents can help if they don't abuse alcohol and drugs themselves. And he says there's something else we all can do.
I ask the public to report anyone who is selling drugs or alcohol to our kids. I think if the public becomes fed up with it and they report people down the street or convenience stores that sell alcohol to teenagers, that this could have a dramatic effect.
Up next, addiction.
If I didn't have any pot or anything, I couldn't sleep at night.
For every 10 people you know, 2 of them are potential addicts, and it makes no difference if they're young or old.
We've seen fully developed alcoholics at 2 years of age whose mother put beer in the baby bottle to keep them quiet. We've seen people that never had a drink of alcohol until they were 70 years old develop full-blown alcoholism in 3 months, drinking a few glasses of wine at night.
When you are addicted to a drug, you no longer determine when and how often you use the substance. You lose control of your life.
If I didn't have any pot or anything, I couldn't sleep at night. So when I bought it, it was like I'd get stingy with it and make sure that I'd have a little bit to catch me a buzz just so I could sleep at night. But I put a lot of miles on my car driving for hours trying to find pot lots of times.
If you're concerned about a friend or a loved one, there are addiction warning signs. Watch for mood changes, hiding and sneaking drugs, lying about drugs or money, blackouts, not remembering what happened the night before, and calling in sick frequently. Parents also need to watch for these signs in their kids. Radical behavior changes, defiant behavior, a change in friends, and a drop in grades.
One of the easiest drugs to get addicted to is cocaine. As we've heard over the past several years, there is a major cocaine problem in our country.
Bob, Mobile is no exception. The drug addicts I've interviewed this month have told me the drug is so easy to get here. As long as you have the money, you get coke.
Heading down Scott, turn up Main, looking for that girl who sells cocaine. Cocaine, run all around my brain.
It made you feel like you were 10 feet tall and bulletproof and invisible.
It gave me that feeling of with no fear. I had no fear. I felt a Superman. I couldn't be touched.
Cocaine, the wonder drug of the 80s. For a long time, it was considered a drug for the rich and famous, a drug for the upper class, for the professional. Instead of having a cocktail before dinner, you'd snort a line of coke. But it's not just a rich man's drug anymore.
The availability of cocaine in Mobile is outrageous.
So anybody basically could get it without any trouble at any time?
Anybody, any age, anytime, anywhere in this city. They're selling it on the corners, they're selling it at schools, they're selling it in bars, they're selling it in the malls. It's being sold everywhere.
Mama, come here quick. That old cocaine about to make me sick. Cocaine running all around my brain.
Still ahead, alcohol.
I came to rely on it as a drug, something to carry me through the day. It was no more a social event.
Alcohol is another drug that can kill. It's estimated about 10 million Americans are alcoholics.
Alcoholism is a growing problem, one that affects both adults and children. For most people, drinking alcohol is something that is done socially, after work or on weekends. But for an alcoholic, drinking becomes a way of life.
I came to rely on it as a drug, something to carry me through the day. It was no more a social event.
Richard is also a recovering alcoholic. He wishes to remain anonymous.
Now, I was drinking because I didn't feel good, and drinking would make me feel another way. I wouldn't have to feel bad. Drinking would make me feel bad, but it would anesthetize me such that I was comfortable drinking.
To get up at 4 o'clock in the morning, to get over being sick, to get a half a pint down you to where you stop shaking, to function. I drank to function. I didn't drink to get drunk.
Alcoholics believe they need their next drink to survive, but in reality, taking that next drink could be the very last thing they do. Their bodies become battlegrounds where alcohol attacks their major organs. Alcohol can cause disease in their liver, heart, stomach, and brain.
Dr. Peter Bertucci is the medical director of a local recovery center.
It can kill. It is a ravaging killer.
I have a tremendous fear of alcohol. I know it's fatal for me.
Every time I tried to quit, when I started back, it was worse. And I had given myself up to die before I came here. I had accepted the fact that I was dying, and I didn't care.
I would look in the mirror and say, "It's showtime, Elizabeth." And one of those days I just looked in the mirror and I was standing there just like that, and I said, "You're gonna die."
The world of an alcoholic can be a very lonely world. Life no longer revolves around the family and career. To the alcoholic, life is in a bottle.
I was all ego with no self-esteem. I thought more of a roach or something like that than I did myself.
I was spending many, many, many days in an apartment. I owned several homes, but I would live in an apartment because it didn't take a lot of maintenance. Didn't have to do a lot of anything. And I'd keep the blinds closed during the middle of the day and drink by myself.
You know, I didn't know what it was to feel. I didn't know what it was to say, I'm happy, I'm sad, I'm glad, I'm mad.
Tommy, Richard, and Elizabeth are recovering alcoholics. They've been through a treatment program, and they're all members of Alcoholics Anonymous. There are many AA groups in our area, and members can attend as many meetings as they want. For Tommy, Richard, and Elizabeth, Alcoholics Anonymous helps keep them sober, and it also teaches them a lot about themselves.
AA helps me by keeping me in myself, keeping me from getting a big head of what I've accomplished, that it is a gift, and it's given to me daily, the gift of life, the gift of sobriety.
I thought I loved my children back then, but actually I was maintaining them more than I was loving them. I was doing what a father was supposed to do. And today we have more fun making peanut butter and jelly sandwiches than we do going to Disney World.
They say the disease is progressive, okay? If it's progressive, which means that my tolerance is lower than it was 3 years ago. If I started back drinking, I'd be dead. It's just that simple.
Still to come, education.
You shouldn't take them because they're not going to help you in any way, like the people that take them say that it's going to help you.
For some high school kids, school days are spent in a haze because along with taking reading, writing, and arithmetic, they take drugs.
I don't really remember high school at all. And it's really weird because a lot of people will come up and speak to me and say hello, and I don't know who they are. And it's just really just put a gap in my life.
But for kids to know the dangers of getting high, drug education needs to begin long before high school. Here at Mary B. Austin, it begins as early as kindergarten and continues through the 5th grade.
But what is peer pressure?
In Mrs. Hughes' 5th grade class, peer pressure is not only something they feel, it's a subject they study. They learn how to react when someone tries to get them to try drugs. In this skit, Jimmy invited Jason over to watch a movie after school.
What do you want to do while we're watching it? Let's say, we can smoke some pot. No, man, I ain't up for that. Why not, man? It's good for you. Man, it's bad. Why you want to do it? Man. Don't give me that. Come on. Man, I gotta do it. No. See,
okay. To these kids, saying yes to drugs is not the right answer.
You shouldn't take them because they're not going to help you in any way, like the people that take them say that it's going to help you. They just take them to act like they're cool, but they aren't really cool. They're just hurting themselves.
I would tell them that it's not right and it's not good for you, and drugs are bad.
Yeah, I act like one, but I'm still not a chicken because I'm not going to take that crack. Why? Because I'm not a chicken. You're not cool. I'm cool. I have all those friends, see? See it your way. Okay, I see it. 6 o'clock, time to babysit. Oops.
Knowing how to say no to drugs is what this class is all about, and it's a lesson these kids have learned well. A number of family problems and even trouble at school can often be traced to drug and alcohol abuse.
But there is a local group making a big difference in the fight to prevent substance abuse. You may not have heard about the Mobile Bay Area Partnership for Youth, but there's a good chance your children know about its work. The group's in business to teach young people about the danger posed by drug and alcohol abuse. You can see evidence of the partnership everywhere. It helped Derek Burrows of the Buffalo Bills spread the message about drug abuse to youngsters attending a football clinic last summer. It got America's junior Miss candidates to adopt a drug prevention program and provided material used by the Mobile Optimist Club to get everyone to say no to drugs. That among hundreds of other presentations. The Partnership's office on Glenwood Street is a clearinghouse for information about substance abuse. There are mountains of material available, all free of charge to parents, teachers, and children.
All this month, I've shown you on Health Watch on the News 10, there is hope for people who abuse drugs or alcohol.
Here along the Gulf Coast, there is help available. There are recovery centers with trained professionals who can treat the disease.
You're about to see people who say if they hadn't gotten help, they wouldn't be here today to share their stories with you. Rehabilitation meant the difference between living and dying.
I was dying. Today I feel wonderful.
It was a fight every day, you know, to hide what was a problem that was spiraling.
I'm working and got a wife and got children, and I make my house payments and car payments, and I guess I fit in the stream of life.
And I learned that now I'm a pretty nice guy. I got a little bit of a mind. I got a lot going for me, and I got people who care about me.
It's been absolutely a whole new life for me.
I enjoy life today. I enjoy living. I enjoy the little things, which are the important things. I enjoy being sober.
It's an incredible sensation to start to live again, and for the first time.
This is the first spring that I can remember. I've been there, I've seen it. It's the first time I can remember the flowers blooming.